put some weight on your back foot. Yeah, put your weight on your back foot there. So you're definitely further back than you are on the front leg. And now just allow the bones in the feet to open and move forwards. And then you sit back. And then you move forwards. And every time you move forwards, the bones in the feet appear to widen. Yeah, sitting back. And then bones widen. This is exactly the same as when a tennis ball hits the ground and bounces up. In other words, when the tennis ball lands, and I can't compress this very much, it's not very compressible, like a little bit of squeeze, but you have to imagine that. So the tennis ball comes down, lands on the ground, and what happens is, as it arrives, it actually compresses and goes temporarily out of shape. I mean, not, you know, this is a good tennis ball. I can't compress it very much. So you have to imagine. So what happens is, if I do this, down comes the tennis ball. Here it is. It lands on the floor. And then what it does is it squeezes flat for a second. And then what happens is it undoes and it actually elongates this way for the briefest of seconds. So when it lands, it literally, if that's the ball squashes. Yeah, so now it's this shape. And when it lifts, what happens is it elongates, so it's now this shape, and then as it rises up, it reverts to its original shape. There's some very good, well, there's one particularly good on YouTube. If you Google something like ball landing on the floor in slow motion or something, or slow motion tennis ball landing, something along those lines, and they filmed it to like sort of 1 frame an hour sort of speed. It's really, really slow, and you can actually see this happening, see the squashing, and you can see the expansion, and then it catches up with itself again. Now, the point of this is that when you get into your back foot, normally what we'd think of in Tai Chi martial arts generally is that you get onto your back foot and you push off your back foot. Okay, I would argue that the tennis ball doesn't actually do that. I think the tennis ball's compression internally within the tennis ball is compressing, and then internals undo and it allows itself to expand before regaining its shape. And I think this is the same with the human body. So when you sink down, go onto your back foot, whichever one, left or right, you sink into it. Okay, you can feel the compression, can't you? Now, if you now push yourself forwards, really push. Yeah? So really force yourself forward suddenly. So back we go, sink into it, and now force yourself forward quickly. Yeah? Try the other leg, do the same, you know, because they might feel different. So you go onto your back foot, you sink into it, and then finally push. Now, I don't know if you can feel what goes on, where connects, if you like, but I can tell you where I feel it, and then maybe you'll feel the same. We'll give it another go. Is that when I do that hard press, I feel the energy into the knee first and into here second. So, but it's like there's a tension briefly, and it's really brief, in the knee and the hip. Some people, when I watch them do Tai Chi, they will go like this. They will actually feel that tension so strongly, they'll actually lift their hips. So it'll look like this. They'll go sit back, and then they'll go push, and their bum will stick out backwards temporarily, and then it'll catch up later. So in other words, we are trying to direct energy from the rear foot, say, to a pair of hands here. So when you do this and you push and this lifts, for a second, the line of energy goes out and then back up. So isn't it a little bit like a willow branch? You know, you get something, a flexible piece of wood off a tree, and you try and push it into the ground. Yeah, and of course, what happens is it's flexible. So what happens? It bends out the side suddenly. So that means that the energy you're directing down into the ground, unless you get it absolutely perfectly, Suddenly it whips out the side, pushes the stick sideways, it might snap even, and part of it only goes into the ground. A lot of it spreads sideways, whichever way it's going to bow. So, so here, what we need is when this happens and you're like this here, and you push and this happens, that's the willow stick. Your energy has actually traveled, it's no longer, you've broken the line. So when you do this and you sit back, whichever foot forward you like, sink into your rear foot, don't push hard, release internally, opening the bones in the palms, or feet as well, sorry, in the feet, but the hands could be as well. So you settle into your rear foot, your tennis ball landed, and now allow the inside of you to expand to push you out again. This will stop all sorts of things happening in Tai Chi, posturally as well.